Hello and welcome to Books to Board. Tonight we are going to look at the Vaesen themselves for the rather excellent Vaesen RPG from Free League. Vaesen are the creatures that inhabit the sort of in-between world and they're so integral to the game. They come from Nordic folklore, and what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time just introducing these. And what your players would probably know just by being around and having a basic understanding of folklore. So there will be no secrets given away. There'll be no clues on how to defeat them given away. What we're going to do is just really introduce each one. And there are quite a few of them, so we're going to do this over a couple of videos. There's 21 in total in the book, and we're going to look at them. And this is our first one, the Ash Tree Wife. Now, the Ash Tree Wife is basically a terrifying female Vaesen that's bound to an ash tree, and she inhabits it, and she can haunt those who damage the tree or spread diseases she can spread diseases and twist people's mind. She resembles a human woman combined with certain features of the tree. So she's long dark green hair, bark like skin, and horns like branches. So you can see that she's really quite striking, and she's bound into this tree. So the key here is the ash tree. So yeah, the next one, if I can get it move, is the Brook Horse. Now I have to admit, the Brook Horse is a bit of a favourite of mine because I just love the sort of mischief of the thing. So basically it is a stallion. It can be white, dabbled grey-black, or shimmering blue in moonlight. And it's basically a predator. It's got very, very sharp teeth indeed. And it lurks near brooks and lakes. It basically will lead children or careless farmers to a drowning swamp or take them on a mad ride away from the region, almost like a practical joke. It'll seem calm and friendly and try to be like a normal horse, but a really impressive normal horse, stroll along the shore, and it'll try to lure curious humans onto its back. And it can actually grow its back so it can hold more people on its back. Once you're on its back, it will then ride and gallop away and might deposit you somewhere far away, and the last thing you'll hear is its neighing laugh. So it's quite an interesting card. It's kind of almost playing a practical joke, but it can be quite vicious as well. Next we have the Church Grimm. Now, Church Grimms are really interesting. They're a creature that keep watch over a church. And most of them take the form of a dog, a rooster, a cat, or a horse, and it will attack anybody trying to harm the church or its pastor, or steal from the church, or desecrate the hallowed ground. They are fierce, they are ruthless, and they wander at night, ringing bells at midnight on the night before a villager dies. There you go. Now, then we've got one that is quite familiar to people, but is slightly different. In the fairy. So fairies live in communities. They're pretty chaotic. They normally appear as luminous palm-sized women, but they can take any form they really like. So like wisps of mist, insects, or frogs. Male fairies are called elves and look like tiny old men. And elves can play musical instruments, while the fairies lead the fairy dance, which can plunge people into insanity and distort their sense of time. Fairies are incredibly mischievous. They like playing pranks. They're very self-centered. They're very easily offended. They don't really have any human morals. And they are pretty nasty, actually. So even whenever they're in a good mood, they can bite the fingers of small children and feed them their blood. And they live in mounds, led by a fairy queen or an elf queen, or a fairy queen or an elf king, and they will move on processions, magical paths. They are closely connected with animals and plant life. There you go. But they're a little bit more malicious than they are in British folklore. Ghosts, spirits of dead people who've not found peace in death, because there's some need or desire that has to be met. They'll crave vengeance or forgiveness and wish to do something or warn someone, or they might be tethered to the world by the grief of its loved ones. They're faintly transparent, and make themselves known through drops in temperature, strange noises, things like that. They're not that different to what you would have in British folklore, to be honest, at all. Giants are ancient creatures that have been in Scandinavia long before the humans. Vaguely human-like. They've often got horns, fangs, tongue, tusks, strange growths. So think the Warhammer giants to some extent. They live on their own and separate community. Live in their own separate communities. Some are fine with people, while others like to eat them. And they're often violent and they're impetuous. They're known for hurling boulders at churches in hopes of crushing them. They don't like Christianity at all. Then we have our friend the Lindworm, rather impressive looking beast that he is. It's an ancient monster with a reptilian body and razor-sharp claws capable of spitting caustic acid. It's got a white mane that can grow on its neck, and it tends to stay under old oak trees whose leaves then remain green throughout the year, or dwell beneath churches or in ruins. It'll hoard treasure in its burrow, and it can roll at very high speed. It'll feed on cattle, human flesh, and corpses, and they routinely trick people. Yeah. Now, this one kind of freaks me out a little bit. The mare. Now, mares are women who unknowingly shapeshift into nightmarish Vaesen. The victims are possessed by deceased or unmarried women who seek revenge in the living or long to see a beloved in the afterlife. There's talk of curses passed down from the mother who tried to relieve the pain of childbirth through black magic. At night, they turn into an oily mist that can pass through even the smallest knothole. They take physical form, and they will attack people in their sleep. They're really nasty. Really nasty. Mermaids. Let's go to the mermaid. So the mermaid is she rules over the sea. She's not the Little Mermaid. She's a little bit more malicious than that. They are said to have a fishtail instead of legs, and a hollow fish-scaled back and gills. Seafarers will give her offerings, and she can repay such acts with favourable winds, huge catches of fish, or she can punish those who don't give her offerings. They will live in the palace at the bottom of the sea, and the humans, with serving spirits and humans under her spell. They're quite, the sacrifices can be quite demanding. And then we have one of the ones I find probably the most unnerving, if I'm honest, in many respects, which is the Myling. The Myling is the spirit of a child murdered by its mother, often because it was born out of wedlock or because there's no safety net for those who are too poor to care for their child. Infanticide in the 19th century is punishable by death, and the Myling will often want to see its mother punished. It's a spirit that haunts the place where the body was hidden, and they can be quite mischievous. And I think that's where we'll leave it. We're about halfway through, I think. So I'm going to say we'll leave this part. That'll do us for part one. Those are some of them. all of them, the Vaesen have got things that they can do and specific attacks and powers that they've got, and all of them will require a ritual to clear to dispel them, or if you take them out using combat, they will just come back in a amount of time. And they all have got a secret, and I'm not sharing that with you or any of their stats. So this is just to give you a kind of flavour of what might be facing you whenever you do this game. But the Vaesen themselves are awesome, and I have to say in the book it also gives you rules on how to make your own, which is even better. So there you go. Thank you for watching. Part 2 will be coming in the not too distant future, and the easiest way not to miss it is to subscribe to the channel. So have a great evening. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.